had to cough about the time I opened my mouth. I had to go outside and take care of my pole to my bird feeder because I've got tulle around it, and I noticed it was all the way down to the ground. That means a squirrel tried to climb it, because the squirrels will climb those poles and get up there and eat the bird feed or the seed right out of the feeder. If I don't keep that tulle up there, I used to grease the pole down, but it got so dry and dusty out here that the grease would hold all that dust, and it just gave the squirrels traction to climb the pole. So now I tie tulle real loose around it, and they try to climb that pole. They grab that tulle and they slide down because the tulle will come down. There's no way they can get up that pole. I've seen some of them actually jump from the ground, up to the feeder. That's the really big squirrels, but if they're the smaller ones, they can't quite jump that high. I'm trying to get my chat up on this so I don't have to stare right into the screen up here. Well, if I can find the right one. Well, where is it? There it is. And I went through the motions of setting up the live in such a hurry and still half asleep that I didn't change the title and let everybody know what I was going to be doing. We're going to be making a stroganoff for one today. Everybody keeps asking me, well, we need recipes to cook for one person. So over the years, I've learned how to cook for one person. So that's what I try to do, is show other people how I do it, just for one person all the time. And I think, yeah, this is the one that's showing. So how are all of you this morning? Do you know it was still 96 degrees at 8 o'clock last night? Hi, Ashley. I got Ann Watson, Gladys, Slim Twiggy, Ashley. Well, that's not bad. 9 people showed up. That's pretty good at the last minute. But I think I'm going to try to go live in the mornings if I can control my allergies. I was out putting compost tea to my plants last night at 11 and 12 o'clock. Because that's when it's the coolest in my yard. I had a flashlight. I was going around putting compost tea to my plants because they just looked like they were going to die. They were so hot yesterday. Because it did reach 106, and it's supposed to be about the same today. So there's not a whole lot I'm going to be doing in the yard till after dark. So I decided to go ahead and do some of these recipes, cooking for one, that people have been asking for. And, if you have more than one person, you can go ahead and double, triple, quadruple the recipe. I mean, it's up to you. Ashley says, I lost connection as soon as the live started. Oh, my goodness. And Slim Twiggy's waiting for the rain. Well, I've been waiting too, but rain is nowhere to be seen here. I'm great, Gladys. Oh, the rice pudding was fantastic. I ate some of it last night for dessert, and I still got a bunch of it in there today that I'll eat later. I'll eat some of it later. I can't eat it all. I'll have to eat a little bit every day as dessert till it's gone. You must be having a storm or something, Ashley. We desperately need rain here. Well, in my videos, I'm sure all of you've seen how brown the yard is. That's why I don't want grass here. I've got so many rocks and boulders in in the yard that, and some of them are just under the dirt, and it doesn't hold moisture. All the rain just goes right on through and gone. It doesn't flood up here because I'm the highest point in this county. I mean, people below me might flood a little bit, but I don't, which is a good thing. The only drawback for that is it doesn't hold moisture for your plants either. That's another reason I went to planting in buckets and totes and big pots, is because I can put more or less like a clay dirt in most of my pots to hold moisture, and that way I don't have to water quite as much. But now, as you can see, there's a lot of my totes and buckets out there that don't have the clay in it. And that's one thing that I've got to rectify before I plant again in some of those pots and totes, is to add some natural clay dirt into those pots and totes, and more cardboard and stuff like that, so it holds the moisture. That way I can get away with watering twice a week. But some of those plants out there now, they don't have enough of the clay dirt in the pots to hold the moisture. So they're the ones that are giving me the biggest problem, plus the ones that are in the ground. Now, the okra does real well in the ground if you just keep a little bit of water to it. But as you saw, my winter squash and that type of thing just died off in the ground, because even in those grow bags that I put in the ground, because underneath the grow bags, the only moisture that comes in that bag is what I put in it. When it goes on through the bottom, it's gone, because the ground is so dry, it just absorbs it like crazy. No, I haven't done the rain dance yet, Gladys. I guess that's one of my problems. If I do a rain dance, then maybe I would get some rain. Oh no, you're so secure. SSI got denied after waiting 5 months. If I had a doctor behind me saying that I was disabled, I would take it to court. I would appear before a judge and tell him the issue, that you qualify for SSI, but they keep denying it. Because that's what my friends did. They knew they needed Social Security, but they kept being denied every time they applied for it. And finally, they just took the papers from the doctors saying that they were disabled, that they needed to be on Social Security, and they finally got it. I mean, the judge even was going to argue with her at one point and told Patsy, said, "You're not disabled as long as you can think clearly." And he says, "Lady, you think as clear as a bell." And she argued back with him, and she told him, she said, "Yeah, my mind is clear as a bell, and I can take care of myself as far as my mind and thinking and making decisions. But," she says, "my body cannot." And I said, "There's no job out there that I can go on and just sit down all day and not have to get up and do anything physical." So finally, with her arguing with him, he finally approved her Social Security. Yeah, sometimes you got to fight. You got to take up for yourself. Yeah, basically what you need to do is get your doctor to write out a letter to the court saying that you are 100% disabled. I mean, that's what it's going to take if they keep denying you. Once you can get a doctor to say that, then, they really can't deny you Social Security. Yeah, I was still half asleep when I set up the live, and I wanted to change it and put on there what I was doing the live for. And I got through it so quick. Then at the end, I finally realized, oh no, I didn't put the title in there. But I said, oh well, they'll find out when they get in the live, and then later I'll change the title when it's posted to the public. And I'm not live anymore. Oh, you started the online appeal today? Well, I think Patsy and Jesse went through all that as well. They went through appeals after appeals, and finally they just got a letter from the court, from the doctors, and they took it to court, and finally the judge approved their Social Security, or Patsy's Social Security, because Jesse was already on it. I got to turn my fan on over here. It's already hot in here. Yeah, the way I have to water my plants with my compost tea to keep them alive, I have to wait till after dark. And then it's too dark to really see out there, but I've got motion lights with my security cameras and stuff. So I walk under them, the lights will come on. And then I'll take a flashlight around with me, and that way with a bucket. But that's the only thing that's keeping them alive, because it's been so hot and dry. I'm surprised any of it's living. And I went out there and picked a handful of, I got me a handful of tomatoes out of my garden. You know, I wait till they get ripe, and then I pick them before they get too ripe, because I don't want the bugs to eat them. But that's the first one of my big slicing tomatoes that I've picked. And it's not gigantic, but it's pretty good size. So I'm going to enjoy them. And remember the onions that I planted from the onion bottoms? Look at there. I mean, they're not real big, but they're big enough that you can cut them up and use them in a dish, you know, in a recipe. But those were from the onion bottoms, the white onion bottoms. And the only reason I pulled them is because the tops were dying off from the heat. And I said, well, I'm going to pull them even though they're small, and I'll use them. If it hadn't been so hot and dry, they would have gotten a lot bigger. Well, hey, Wilkes County boy, glad you could make it. Ann says, my Social Security was approved immediately due to RA and lupus 30 days later. Well, good for you, Ann. Yeah, I'd rather work too, and they put me on, and I didn't even ask for it. Back when they diagnosed me with cancer that I ended up not having, my oncologist put me immediately on disability, because she knew I would not be able to work once I went through chemo, because it knocks out your immune system, and they tell you not to go out in public. So I couldn't hold down a public job, you know, with my immune system wiped out, and they immediately put me on Social Security, and they put me on food stamps and all that good stuff, which it was good at the time, but it was not enough money really to live on. So after I started getting my immune system built back up and realized I did not have cancer, I started getting part-time jobs. Part-time jobs ended up into a full-time job. And finally, Social Security contacted me and said, well, you're already 62, and you're old enough to be put on regular retirement. But, you know, if you go on Social Security at 62, they deduct part of it, and you never get that back. You get a less amount a month. I didn't have a say in it. They just switched me over to regular retirement. And then after I passed 67, they said, well, you can work as much as you want, and it's not going to affect your check. You know, you'll still draw your full retirement Social Security, and you'll be able to work. Because I guess they figure when you reach that age, if you can work, more power to you. I don't know. But, you know, they took my disability away from me. That meant I had no more free transportation to the clinics. I had no more Medicaid, to back up that 20% Medicare doesn't pay for. So now I'm paying $200 a month for insurance that picks up the 20% that Medicare doesn't pay. Plus, Medicare takes out about $198 for Medicare. And I'm paying my own bills because my retirement check is still not enough to pay all my bills. If I have a repair bill or an emergency here at the house to take care of, I don't have the money to cover that. And I tried to keep a little bit in savings and work so I didn't completely drain that account. And it's got to the point where there's no more extra money. So, I have to bring in an income from somewhere. And when you reach my age, a lot of companies don't want to hire you. They consider, if you're past, 72, they think you're unhireable because you're not going to be able to do the job. So, I don't know about all that. Yep, we're still without rain, Wilkes County boy. No rain. I thought we were going to have an electrical storm last night because I could hear thunder way off in the distance. And that happens sometimes here. It gets so hot and so dry for so long, we actually end up with an electrical storm. And what I mean by that is it's just lightning and thunder. I mean, there's lightning flashes everywhere and thunder, but no rain because of the heat. And that does happen in the desert all the time. That's right. It depends on your mom's age. If she's past 72 or 67, I'm not sure what the age is that I passed that they told me I could work all I wanted to and it did not affect my check. But, I could work now and it wouldn't affect my check. What little bit I get from my YouTube channel doesn't affect my check, which it's not enough to bother it anyway. Yeah, and I enjoyed working the full-time job, even a part-time job, bringing in that extra paycheck to go with my retirement check, because it gave me a decent income to live off every month. But then when I got injured again on that other job that I worked on a couple of years ago, I'm limited even less to what I can do on the job. So, and then I found out a lot of places will not hire you if you pass 72. I mean, if you're already on the job, they keep you there and you work. If you're not just a temporary position, if you've been working there for years and you turn 72, you still have your job. But me, I was hired in a seasonal, so when that season was up, they laid me off now they say I'm not hireable because I'm past 72 years old. You owned a t-shirt shop. Love my work and you miss it so much. Well, I'm sure you do. Owning a t-shirt shop would be fun, I think. Yeah, so far my channel has not brought in much a month at all. But every little bit helps. Anything I can bring in is going to help. Can't hurt. Wilkes County boy says I did a powwow rain dance for rain to come your way, but I guess it didn't work. No, it didn't work, or it hasn't yet. Well, we're not doing too bad. We've got about 15 people in here. Yeah, Mom is 78. Well, if that woman's still working, I'm telling you, you should be proud of that. That means she's a pretty healthy, strong woman to be 78 if she still works. I wish I had a public job right now that I could do. But like I said, there's not a job out there I can find that I don't have to lift something that's over my weight limit or strain on stuff that, I shouldn't be straining on. Well, anyway, I'm going to get busy with my stroganoff dish. And remember, this is stroganoff for like one person, maybe, possibly two. But I'm going to make it with what I've got. And I forgot to get my, well, I don't really need oil because I've got the beef. I got to take a swig of coffee. And I may miss some of the comments because, like I said, I got to rely on looking at this, my phone. Oh, goodness. Sorry to hear that, Ann Watson. You're 70 and you can't walk. That's got to be terrible because here, about 3 months ago, I was working in the yard and I was using that little bitty weed eater. And it was so lightweight, you know, I was able to use it with no problem. And I'm weed eating away, and I did it for a couple of hours. But you know what? The next day, I couldn't hardly get out of bed. I couldn't put my weight on my right leg because it hurt so bad I was about to scream. And it stayed that way for several weeks. It got so bad, and it scared me so bad because I said, oh my God, I'm here by myself. I've got to be able to walk. And I went to this emergency clinic that we have out here because it was on the weekend. My doctor's office isn't open, and you got to make an appointment to get in to see the doctor anyway. So I went to that emergency clinic. I could barely make it into the door. I mean, I had to drive myself out there, walk across the parking lot, get into the clinic, and finally I made it in there, and people were looking at me like, well, what is wrong with you? Well, I sat down and was talking to the receptionist, and I told her, I said, I need to get some painkiller and a muscle relaxer so I can get my lower back popped back into place. I said, it's out. And I said, I can barely walk because the pain is so bad. You know what she told me? She said, without a diagnosis, we can't give you pain medications or muscle relaxers. We can't write a prescription. I said, well, this is a clinic, isn't it? You got doctors here, right? She said, yeah, but what you're telling me is your problem is you're going to need an MRI or this, that, and the other, and this kind of thing before anybody can prescribe you anything. You need to go to your doctor. Or she said, if your doctor's office is not open now, you need to go to the emergency room. But you know what they did? They put me in a wheelchair, wheeled me in the doctor's office, talked to me a little bit, explained why they couldn't give me anything, pushed me out to my car in a wheelchair. I got behind the wheel and drove home because it made me mad at that point. And I said, I know what the problem was. I'll just deal with it myself. I came home, could barely get into the house because I couldn't, you know, it hurt so bad every time I put my weight on my right leg that I was about ready to scream. Well, I finally made it in the house, tried to relax. I started taking my ibuprofen. And after about a week or two, I was able to get my lower back into position. And I've been fine ever since. But I thought to myself, you got a clinic like this. It's an emergency clinic. What do you do if somebody is, you know, really bad off and they need treatment or it's life and death? I guess they'll just tell you, go to the hospital. I said, well, if that's the case, they don't need that clinic out there. They need to lock the doors on that clinic, save people the money, time, and aggravation of even going in the door, and just let them go to the emergency room to begin with. No, but they're open just to get that office visit. Because you know they billed Medicare for that visit where she pushed me in the office just to tell, or the exam room, just to tell me that she couldn't give me nothing. Yeah, you know they bill my Medicare insurance dearly for that. Yeah, I know. I would miss gardening too. Even in this extreme heat, I love gardening. And if I could not get around, you know, I don't know what I'd do. But I tell you, that gave me a little bit of a taste of not being able to walk and get around and do stuff. And I said, there's no way I can get in that position. I live by myself. I have no one coming by here during the day to even see me. So I don't have anybody to check on me to make sure I'm okay. But you know, if I got really down and couldn't get up and walk, I could always call my son. And he'd probably say, well, you need to come live with me for a while or something. But you know, I don't want that to happen. And I know no one does. And I feel for anybody like Ann that can't get around and walk. I feel for Bloomin' because her knees have been hurting so bad she's not been able to get up and do like she normally does. And she's looking to have surgery on one knee. The other knee, she said the doctor said he was pretty sure it was arthritis causing the pain there. But you know, arthritis pain is crippling. If your legs hurt so bad from arthritis pain that you can't walk, that's just as bad as not being able to walk from anything else. But anyway, I'm going to quit talking so much because I love talking to y'all. I talk to y'all all day. And I'm going to get busy cooking my stroganoff here. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and put some water in my pot. And I'm going to get my noodles to cooking. And I've got them on this other burner back here. Yeah, I feel for people that have problems that affect their walking and stuff like that, because I think I would absolutely die if I couldn't walk. I've been so independent all my life and done stuff for myself all my life, and I just can't imagine being down to where I couldn't do that anymore. Hi, Jody. Well, I'm glad you bounced around and ended up in my video. We're going to make stroganoff for one person. This is my version of, I guess, a beef stroganoff that you don't have to put in the oven. Yeah, I'm going to try to watch my chat while I'm doing this. So, but I've got my trusty beef patty, you know, that I save. When I buy the 3-pound rolls of ground beef, I always do this. I make patties, big patties, so anytime I can take a patty out and cook it, put it in a dish, or I can just make me a hamburger. And some of it I will actually leave in a little pound or half-pound bundle to put in like chili beans, stuff like that. But you know what? I need to come over here and cut my onions first. I got to get my garlic and my onions. I was about to forget that. Get this camera situated here. Yeah, like I said, I had gathered my garlic out of the green stalk tower to be able to put it in my dishes. So we're going to start out with just I call splattering my garlic. And then chopping it up a little bit. I always come up with all these dishes that I make that always has garlic and onions in it. I guess because that's just the way I ended up cooking all my life. And then I'm going to use a couple of my fresh onions that I pulled this morning. I mean, they're small, but hey, they'll cook just as good as the big ones will. Get all this outside off of them. But see, I do use stuff out of my garden. I cook all my greens that I can harvest out of my garden. I cook, if I ever get squash, then I cook my squash. This is the first year that I really have not had squash. I mean, I harvested a couple before the plants died, where those squash bugs got to them. But I'm hoping to get some out of my new plants that I just planted. Yep, see, they're little, but all of these little ones will make just enough for my dish, so. And I don't have to chop them up too small because, like I said, I like my onions, so. I don't care that I can see them in my dish. Whoops, that one rolled away. There, we got that, so we can move back over here. I'll clean that up later. And you can use any kind of pasta. I had just a little bit of this rigate, penny rigate noodles left because I had cooked some of those the other day. But I think I've got just about enough of them left in here. Should be a good serving for one. And we're going to go ahead and start our beef sauteing. I'm also going to put in my onions and my garlic that I just chopped. Just squish up the beef because I don't want it in a patty. I want it just little hunks maybe. But you know, since I started my channel and I did a little bit of cooking videos, I found there's so many people out there that are living alone, so that means they're cooking for one person. And it was a struggle for me in the beginning, trying to cook for one person, because I was always used to cooking for my family. So I cook tons of stuff and have so much left over. Oh, Ashley, you shouldn't feel guilty mentioning any kind of a problem you got. You got people behind you rooting for you. And even though I put garlic in, I'm going to put a little bit of garlic salt. Because that salts my dish as I'm putting my garlic, and that's sea salt. I'm going to put a little bit of Italian seasoning in here. I'm going to put a little bit of onion powder, even though I got onion, because it gives it a little bit of a different taste when you put onion powder and garlic powder in. And I've got to dissolve my bouillon, because we're going to put beef bouillon in here too. And since this is a block, I'm going to go ahead and dissolve it in some water. I was going to get the powdered, and they didn't have any. I guess they were sold out of it in the store I was in, and I didn't want to run around to all the stores and try to find it, so I just got the hard block one, the little cubes. But it'll dissolve. Just leave it in the water a little bit while my beef is cooking, and it'll dissolve some. But that's basically the seasoning I'm putting in there, except for Worcestershire sauce. I'm putting about 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce in when I get it cooked. Yeah, in the beginning I'd buy 1 pound of ground beef, and then I realized, well, you can get it just a few pennies cheaper if you buy a 3 pound or a 5 pound roll. So about once a month or so, I would buy a 3 pound or a 5 pound roll of ground beef, and then I divide it up, make little patties, freeze them individually, or put maybe a half a pound to a pound in a single baggie to put in chili beans, that type of thing. Because usually when I make chili beans, I'll make a whole pot full. I'll cook a pound of beans at a time, and I want enough ground beef to go in them to make the chili. And then I freeze the chili beans later, and then take out containers of it as I need to. Let me check my chat. I want to make sure I don't miss anything coming through. Slim Twiggy says, just vacuum quick. Well, I took up all of my carpet basically except what's in the bathroom because I redid the floor. And I didn't like carpet because of my allergies. So I do vacuum. I vacuum my rugs especially the one in the living room. And I do have the one small back bedroom that still has carpet. But that's going to change later on when I put a new floor in there. I'll put a vinyl. Because having carpet with allergies don't work too good. Especially out here in this dry, dusty heat that we have. Because all that dust has a way of finding its way in your house and in the carpet. Wilkes County boy, you need to advertise my link on some of these other people's channels. I mean, I appreciate you putting it in mine, but most people that are in here know my channel already. But it needs to be advertised on some other people's channels that you get into, if you want to advertise it. Because I need many more subscribers. I need more people in my chats. Yeah, that's what I've done. I've got an area rug, a big one in my living room. And then I've got one in my bedroom, and I've got one in the end bedroom down here that can be taken out, and I just throw it on the patio and hose it off and wash it that way. Basically like the professional rug cleaners do. But with this water restriction, I can't put my rugs outside to wash them because they don't want me to use the garden hose outside. I can't even wash my car outside. I mean, usually since I've bought this car that I've got, I take it to the car wash. But, you know, that's at least $10 just to rinse the car off. If you want any more than that, the price goes up. So it's been a while since my car's been washed. Good morning, Tricia Whistler. Glad you could make it. We're making beef stroganoff for one today. I just didn't think to put it in the description before I posted it to go live. And then I couldn't go back and change it unless I deleted the whole thing out. Okay, great, Wilkes County boy. I appreciate that. But you want to brown your beef and your onions just a little bit, because that brings out the flavor in the beef when it's browned just a little bit, not just sauteed. Aloha, April. Welcome from Hawaii. Oh, I forgot about that, Wilkes County boy. Yeah, if you're not a moderator, you can't very well do it. Sometimes if I'm in other people's chats, live chats, I'll just type my address in for YouTube. And then if they're interested, they can check it out. If not, I don't worry about it. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my beef bouillon. See if I can squish it up a little bit more. It'll finish breaking up in here. Squish it down a little bit. I'm going to add my soy sauce, 2 tablespoons. And while that is cooking just a little bit, let's see. Well, I need my... I'm going to get about a spoonful of flour. About a tablespoon. Or maybe 2. Because we want to thicken our sauce up. And it always helps to put your flour in water and get it stirred up, get the lumps out of it before you put it in your dish. Yeah, that's true. Some YouTubers don't like you to share other people's link in their video. I guess they feel like you're giving them their people, you know. They'll go to the other channels and start watching them instead of watching the channel they're in. And I'm just going to add that flour mixture to my beef and my onion mixture. Squish out any flour lumps that are still there. That's going to make a good gravy. And then you need to just saute that just a little bit. To cook the flour, because you don't want to eat the raw flour. It makes it floury tasting, but if you cook it a little bit, that flour cooks up and it makes a good creamy gravy. And let's check on our noodles over here. Ooh, that's hot. I'm going to cook it just a little bit more. But as you can see, this is going to be my lunch today. And I don't have the sour cream to put in there. So I'm just going to put a little bit of milk in my gravy. See, when you're single, you're on a fixed income, you have to improvise with your recipes. I know the milk will give it just a little bit of a different taste than a sour cream, but that's okay. I'll live. Now, we've got to let that cook and thicken up some while I drink some more of my coffee. Yeah, I understand, Wilkes County boy. I had forgotten about that. You have to be a moderator or you can't share links. That's okay. Yeah, I know. Some people don't like for you to share links in their chats because they feel like you're giving their people away. They're afraid that they'll go watch other people's videos and not yours, so... But, you know, you have to understand that, you know, that's understandable. They work hard to build up their uh, people in their chats or on their channel, and they don't want to give their people away. And let's see. I'm going to go ahead and drain this the best I can between everything here. It's the art draining your pot between your dish pan and your sink. And I'm going to put just a little bit of cold water in there to kind of stop the cooking action. Some people would have just put that in a colander and drained it and rinsed it, but limited with space, I do it the easy way. I'm going to put just a little bit of grapeseed oil or olive oil, any type of oil you have, on my noodles, just to kind of keep them from sticking too bad until I get ready to use them. And just set those aside. Well, thank you, Slim Twiggy. I appreciate that super chat. And some people would have drained what little bit of oil was in the pan before they did all this, you know, after they browned their beef. But there was not that much in here. I had pretty lean beef. So I wasn't so determined to get that done, so. But we want this to thicken up just enough to be real creamy looking. Because you want a creamy sauce, not just a gravy, put it that way. Yes, Slim Twiggy, I saw the super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, hash browns with gravy on them is real good. I mean, what I've cooked in here, this amount, would probably make 2 healthy servings for a person. And I don't mind cooking that much because, you know, I'll eat what I want today, and then if there's some left, I can eat it for a meal tomorrow, and then I can go on and fix something else. I don't have to eat it 5 or 6 days for the whole week. Yeah, and I don't ever want people in other live streams to think that I'm trying to take their people away from them. But I don't mind you advertising other people's links in mine because, you know, they're my members. They join my channel or they subscribe to the channel. And I don't mind giving them a little boost to advertise their links in my chats. Maybe down the road somebody will do the same, just like Wilkes County Boy. Because he said he's invited people to my channel several times. But yeah, the ideal thing to put in that is maybe a little bit of sour cream, which I didn't have, so I just added milk. But you improvise, you change your recipes to suit your own needs, not somebody else's. T Sharon, you make this basically the same dish with, you said you make the same dish. I mean, this is basically the same recipe that somebody could make a large portion, and I'm actually going to come out with a little bit more than what I thought. But that's okay. Like I said, I'll eat a meal off of it today, and then I may eat a meal off of it tomorrow. Who knows? I may eat it for dinner tonight, the rest of it. I have no idea. Oh, I would love to send you some, Gladys. But I enjoyed, you know, showing some single people, or anybody that matter, how I tried to cut down a lot of my recipes to suit my own needs, because I don't need to cook for 4 or 5 people anymore. Unless it's something like a big pot of chili beans that I'll cook individual servings of it later and put it in the freezer. Which I love my chili beans, and it's cheaper to make your own and freeze it than it is to buy a canned chili every time you want some. Because food is not cheap nowadays. Prices on everything are going up. Yeah, it's a good thing to do because you're helping one another that way, Wilkes County Boy, to share the links. Vicky says now I gotta have some taters and sausage with onion. Did you watch my video where I made that for a meal? I literally did that. I fried potatoes, onions, sausage. Yeah, we need to share. Yep. Prices are rising. Yeah, just simmering this now helps cook that flour, and it'll thicken up your gravy a little bit, or your sauce, whatever you want to call it. And there's a lot of different ways people make this. It just depends on what version of stroganoff you're fixing. Some people will use sliced sausage, all kind of different meats in theirs. Depending on whether you're fixing a Russian stroganoff or German, you might put different ingredients in it. But it's going to be another 106 day here in Texas today, so like I said, I'm not going to be doing too much in the yard except for after dark tonight, if anything. And since I got my stuff watered with compost tea last night, then I'm not worried about doing anything else to it today. TT Sharon says, I'm not fancy, it's gravy. Yeah, it's gravy. Vicky says, no ma'am, but I'm bringing I'm binging on your videos today. Well, good. You're a newbie. Okay, well, thanks, Vicki, for subscribing to my channel. Tell all your friends about my channel so they can subscribe and watch my videos. Especially single people. And that's one reason I started my channel, is I wanted to share what I do in the way of cooking for one person. If I cook quantities of food, I freeze it. I keep enough out for a day or two, and then I freeze the rest, make my own TV dinners. And everybody today needs to know how to grow your own garden. I mean, the prices of food and everything that's going on in our world today, you need to know how to grow food in your backyard. If it's in a pot, a tote, a bucket, or in the ground, you need to know how to do it, and you need to know how to do it with the least cost possible, so you're not spending a fortune trying to grow your food. These people that live in areas that the climate where you get a couple of rain showers a week and your ground stays moist and you can just grow anything, they are so lucky. I'm from one extreme to the other. My property here is dry as a potato chip and stays that way most of the year. And then my property in North Carolina is so wet, I can't do anything with it unless I haul in tons of dirt that I can't afford right now. But I don't want to get rid of my property. I said in the future I may have income coming in to where I can afford to do something with that property. Yeah, and make your own seed. You can save your seed from your cucumbers, your cantaloupes, your melons, your okra, your tomatoes. And I've showed a lot of that in my videos, how to save your seed for tomatoes. Or you can just take a cherry tomato and let it dry. Save the whole little tomato. Throw it in your pot that next growing season, and you're going to have a ton of little cherry tomatoes come up in your pot. And that's seed that you don't have to buy. And just like the bell peppers, how I planted the pepper seeds, where I cut up my bell pepper, I saved the seed, put it in that little pot. And you saw I had dozens and dozens of of pepper plants coming up from that seed in that little pot. And I've got them spread out all over the yard in my buckets everywhere. Those little black buckets that we planted in, that's all that bell pepper seed that came up from a fresh bell pepper that I planted the seed of. So, and some people don't know you can do that. My onions, my green onion that I pulled the other day, my white onions that I just pulled, they were all planted from an onion bottom. But if you leave them in there, they'll put out even more roots and they'll start producing another bulb. And that one white onion, that was actually a whole clump of onions growing together. And I pulled one and the whole clump came up. And I said, oh my God, I've got 5 or 6 little onions here. But I said it's perfect because that'll be just enough to go in my dish. Basil is about the best growing herb that I've got. Basil and peppermint does the best here of anything else. I've tried cilantro. It gets too hot unless you can grow it inside where it's controlled climate and cooler. Thyme grows, but not that well. It bolts really fast. A lot of the other herbs I have not had very good luck with. Yeah, just like I did. And it got so hot on my celery it died back, but you know what? It's coming back up. I left it in the pot and kept watering it. It's coming back up. I don't know if it'll get big enough to use any stalk of it. But you do need to wrap it with the cardboard, like I showed in one of my videos. I mean, really how you grow celery. But it got so hot here, it just cooked the celery wrapped in that cardboard. That 113-degree day just cooked my celery. Your best is rhubarb, Kimbra. I love turnips and stuff like that, but so far I've not had too good a luck with growing it, and I think it's because of the soil. I need to put more clay soil in my totes to plant my beets and my turnips and stuff like that to have a really good crop of them. But I'll be working on that next growing season, or whenever my totes get empty to where I can redo the soil in it. It's starting to thicken up some, so won't be long now. April Flower says, I'm having a hard time with chamomile. You know, there's a lot of things that I can't grow here. I've tried and tried. But in my climate, it doesn't grow. I mean, it'll try to, but then it just dies off. I mean, there's a lot of the crops you can plant, and it's great for compost. And mine didn't survive. It just can't handle the heat here in Texas. So slowly and surely I figure out what crops grow and will not die here in this heat. And that's what I try to plant the next season. Wilkes County Boy said, I just sent out you some invites. Well, thank you, Wilkes County Boy. Well, I had a problem with the server. My internet must have cut off. You know, I have not really tried growing corn. It comes up voluntarily sometimes around my bird feeders because there is corn seeds in that bird mix, but it doesn't produce anything. It doesn't mature. It gets too hot on it, and I can't water it out there, so. And I have not tried growing it in a tote yet. I guess you could probably grow about six stalks of corn in a tote, but I don't know how it would do. I've never tried it. I might try that one year and just see. Maybe when I plant anything in the spring, I'll try one tote of corn and just see how it works. You can start corn in March, yeah, probably, but it's too hot now to try to plant it. But this is getting nice and creamy. Yeah, I might try some in March, this next year. Just try one tote full of it and see how it does. And if it does okay, I'll know I'll plant more the next time. Yeah, everybody slap the like button. I need all the likes and encouragement I can get. Let's see, what do I want to put this in? Get a big enough bowl to hold it, maybe. And I'm just going to dump my noodles right in this pan. And you can see I didn't use egg noodles or that other stuff. I just used penny pasta. I used what I had on hand. And then we're just going to mix it and heat it just a tiny bit. I know I've read some recipes where they mix it like this and put it in the oven for like an hour. I said, to me, that's insane, especially in this kind of heat. So mine is not going in the oven. It's going to do all its cooking right on top of the stove. But I just want to get the heat back up in it because the pasta was sitting in that pot for a little bit. But it just goes to show you can use any kind of pasta noodles you want. You can use the elbow macaroni, you can do the shells. Any pasta that you have on hand or you want to use is fine. You don't have to have just the egg noodles that they usually specify in a recipe. Okay, I think that's creamy enough. Whoops. I had a runaway noodle, y'all. Don't that look good? And you know what I'm going to do? Or in fact, I think I'll take some out and put it in a serving dish. Get that runaway noodle out of there. But as you can see, your pasta is all coated with the gravy or the sauce, whatever you want to call it. And I could have actually used maybe 2 patties in there, but 1 is enough. And here's the way I like to serve mine. I put a little dab of cheese on the top. And you can put it in your mixture if you want. And then I top with a little bit of green onion. Because we all know I love my onions. And there you have it, y'all. My beef stroganoff fixed on top of the stove in a pan. And I actually have enough for 3 or 4 people. I didn't think I had that many noodles, but I've got it. I'll eat it. No problem. I will eat it. And I'm going to bring my stuff over here. I've got to get me some paper towels. I forgot to put my paper towels up. But at least I don't think I've had too many problems with the internet lately. Get this over here. The camera down a little bit. Well, I don't like that angle. That's a little bit better. Oh, Wilkes County boy, you'll be more than welcome to have a bowl of this with me. Brenda Jordan says, hi, Linda. Been outside working. Came inside to take a break, cool off. That looks yummy. Yeah, I'm getting ready to taste it. I know it is yummy. But you know, this shows you if you're living alone, just cut recipes down. You don't have to cook a full-blown recipe just, you know, just because that's what the recipe calls for. Just cut it down and make portions to suit yourself. Kimber says, thank you for cooking and making me hungry. Just kidding, you sweet. But anyway, see if I can stand this phone up so I can read the chats. Dear Lord, please bless this food I'm about to eat. Bless all the YouTubers out in YouTube land. Keep them safe and happy. Amen. I want to give y'all the first bite. Take a bite, y'all. Open wide. Y'all, this hits the spot today. Let me back this camera up. This is so good. Poor man Stroganoff. I like to give things my own names. This is when you don't have all the ingredients everybody tells you need for a dish. Just take what you have, improvise, and make the same dish. That's all my mouth can hold at one time, girl. Right in the top, right here. There's the cheese. Now you can melt it in with the stroganoff. You don't have to top it like I did. I just put mine on the top. But there's cheese there, y'all. Look at that cheese hanging. More cheese, please. Try to get this contained so I can get it in my mouth. That was a big mouthful. Kimber says, thank you, Linda. I smell it all the way to Pennsylvania. Well, if you were here, I'd surely gladly have you eat with me. But this is my lunch. It's probably going to be my dinner tonight. Oh, and I got to show you something. And look what I'm going to have for dessert. My rice pudding that I made yesterday. See how it sets up? You don't have to put it in the oven and bake it for an hour. Just finish cooking it on the top of the stove. Put it in your dish that you're going to have it store in. And let it set and cool off. and it will set itself. And that's my rice pudding dessert that I'm going to have after I eat my stroganoff. I'll have cheesecake. Well, I want to show you. I froze part of my cheesecake. But look, I've still got some more cheesecake to eat. I've got several packages of cheesecake in my freezer because I knew I couldn't eat all this at one time, but I kept some out so I could eat it whenever I decided I wanted to eat some cheesecake. So I got more right there of that. So I got plenty of desserts. And the best part about it, I've got all that rice pudding and I still got cheesecake. Thank you so much, Trisha Whistler. I love that super chat. Thank you. Bless you for it. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Put your rice pudding in cupcake papers and it does settle. Yeah, that's a great way to do it. I've got these little serving dishes. See if I can find one. I've got a whole set of these little serving dishes. And sometimes that's what I do with these. I'll put my rice pudding in individual servings. Or I'll put Jell-O in an individual serving. Or any type of a pudding or dessert. I'll put in a little bowl like that. That way I've already got the little portions out. You don't have to cut it. You don't have to dip it. It's already an individual serving. But I used to do this all the time for my kids when they were living at home. I'd fix especially the Jell-O with fruit in it. And then I'd top it with whipped topping. And that was their dessert. And they loved it. And like I said, I do the rice pudding and all my other desserts that way too. I just don't have a lot of people to serve right now, so, you know, I don't do that anymore. I just put it in one and then I divide it out and put it in individual packages and put it in the freezer. So I can take out a dessert later whenever I want it. I don't have to eat it all at one time. Gladys says, Linda, you're killing me. I'm sorry, Gladys. But y'all take another bite. Look at that cheese just hanging. It's so good. Oh, I know the super chats go through. I've gotten super chats before, and they've showed up on my YouTube account. I mean, it should be working. Yeah, I've done that too. Kimbra, I put banana pudding and done it in individual servings like this. So that way I can just take the individual bowls out and give it to my kids. Or if I know I'm going to have a dinner and I've got 4 or 5 people, I'll fix the desserts individually like this and bring them out on a tray when it's time for dessert. It was just a little fancy way of serving desserts. Trisha making sure she's seen that. Okay. Yeah, it shows all my super chats on my account on YouTube for that month, and it shows that it's added to my total. I don't know if Bloomin's watching or not. She says a lot of times that she's a silent viewer because she doesn't feel up to dealing with the chat. And I told her that's fine. If she felt like watching, just watch. She doesn't have to interact with the chat. It's totally up to her. Yeah, Kimbra, fruit salad, mac salad, any of that stuff works great in these little dishes. You can even bake in these. These are bakeable little glass dishes. They're Pyrex. And I've got a whole set of them. And they're the handiest things I've ever bought in my life because I've used them millions and millions and millions of times. So they were well worth the money that I spent on them. That's good. And you know, I know there's a like a hamburger helper package mix that you can get to make this, or a version of it. But there's a lot of people out there that are just like me. They can't afford to buy the hamburger helper. You know, they have to use whatever ingredients they have on hand and make the dish. And like me, I wouldn't want to run out to the store and buy a prepackaged Stroganoff kit to come home and make this. I'd rather just start from scratch and do it myself. It's a lot cheaper to do that. But I mean, the hamburger helper and all that is really great because myself and my kids ate our share of hamburger helper when they were growing up because of my income. Yeah, Bloomin told me that she started thinking that she needed surgery on both knees, but she went to the doctor just the other day and he told her that it was just one knee that she needed a repair done to. The other knee, the pain was coming from arthritis. Yeah, I know that. You can do the layered potatoes with the hamburger helper stuff. But you can see, if you're on a fixed income, a lot of times you can't just go out and buy all the prepackaged stuff. And I learned that living on a fixed income and living on a really small income while I was raising my kids. So I couldn't afford to buy all the packaged a lot of times. If it was on sale and I could get a prepackaged meal, and if it was less than what I could prepare it at home from scratch, then I would get it. If not, I always started from scratch and made my own. Wilkes County Boy says, Linda, put some in your shirt pocket. Wow. Noodle was a little bit long. No, I don't need a snack later. Yeah, most of the dishes you can make cheaper if you start from scratch and make it yourself at home than you can buy them prepackaged. And I save a lot of money by not doing prepackaged stuff a lot of times. And then too, you know, it doesn't have all those preservatives in it that a lot of the prepackaged meals do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, I guess, because that's the way it is today, but I think the less of that you can consume, the better off you are. Now, when I was working all the time, I may have just picked up a prepackaged something and come home and fixed it real quick and not worried about it. Other times I would start from scratch. It just depended on how I felt that day, how tired I was. This is so good, y'all. I just wish I could share it with you. Take a bite. Yeah, it does. Food today tastes so much different than it did years ago because they fill prepackaged food with a lot of artificial flavors, artificial preservatives, a lot of salt, because they found that putting added salt to any dish helps the flavor of it. And I try to stay away from all the salt. And I know a lot of older people do because they're watching their blood pressure. They're watching their cholesterol. So you got to pay attention to the salt consumption. You know, you got to keep the salt down. There you go, Wilkes County boy. Make you some brown gravy to put on your hash browns with some hamburger meat. It comes out really good. Homemade brown gravy. Okay. All I do is brown the meat that I cook. I take the meat out of the pan. I use the drippings in the bottom of that pan. I sprinkle in some flour. Brown it a little bit. Then I add water and stir it up and let it cook for a while. And you got your brown gravy. You can season it with salt and pepper. You can season it with bouillon, beef or chicken, whatever you want. The brown gravy, usually I put a little bit of beef bouillon in. You can put a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, not much, because a little bit goes a long way. And then, let's see if I can find it. If your gravy is not as brown as you would like it, you can add this. And it doesn't take much. Maybe a teaspoon of this is plenty, maybe even more than enough to a frying pan of brown gravy. And it darkens it and it flavors it just a tiny bit. But usually, I will brown my meat, take the meat out, brown my gravy in the drippings and the little bit of meat that's left in the pan, and usually that's dark enough. And then you can put in your garlic or your salt, your pepper, whatever seasoning you want on it, and you don't have to add this. But if you end up with, maybe you want to make a gravy and you don't have meat to cook, maybe you just want to make a brown gravy, my suggestion is put a little bit of cooking oil in your frying pan. Sprinkle in a little bit of flour, brown your flour some. Don't burn it, but brown it, because you need to cook the flour. Add your water, as much as you're going to add, and then add about a teaspoonful, maybe a half a teaspoon of this brown gravy mix. And that will really darken your gravy, and it helps flavor it just a tiny bit. But this one bottle lasts, oh my God, it lasts a year or more. It lasts a long time. So, it's not going to cost you a fortune to buy this to put in your brown gravy if you're making it from scratch. Most of the time, I don't even need this. Like today, I didn't need it. because the Worcestershire sauce darkened it what the frying didn't darken. So that's my tip on making brown gravy. And like I said, you don't even need the meat to make that gravy. Say you've got a dish that you just want to make some brown gravy to go on. You can make it with just flour, a little bit of oil to fry your flour in. Add your water, add your salt and pepper. You can add your beef bouillon, you can add chicken stock, whatever, a little bit just for flavoring. And then you can add a half a teaspoon of that brown seasoning mix for gravy. And you have a beautiful gravy. Y'all, I hate to eat in front of you, but I'm hungry. I didn't get breakfast this morning, and this is so good, I can't stop eating it. Yeah, some people will use cornstarch instead of flour to their gravy mix to thicken it. I've always just used a little bit of flour. The cornstarch will thicken it, but I found I have to put an awful lot of that cornstarch in my gravy to thicken it. So I prefer myself to use flour. But you can use either one you prefer. Some people can't eat the flour, so they will use cornstarch instead. Wilkes County boy says, Linda, you going to make me a chef yet? Well, that'd be okay, Wilkes County boy. Any way I can help, it's fine. But y'all need to try this. It is so good. And like I said, when you start from scratch, you're in charge of your own quantity that you make. You don't even have to make as much as I did. You could cut this in half, basically, and still have plenty for one person. Probably for 2 meals, because I made enough for several meals. And I didn't intend to do that. I had more noodles than I thought. Okay. Sure can. I hope you can see it for the glare. Yeah, you're in charge of your own quantity that you cook if you start from scratch. And you're in charge of the way it tastes. You can add seasoning that you want. You can not add seasoning that the recipe says. You know, the sky's the limit when you're cooking yourself. Because like I said in many of my videos, there's no recipe written in stone. You don't have to follow that recipe exactly. You can tweak it to suit your own needs and your own taste. Yeah, that it's just kitchen bouquet, browning, and seasoning sauce. And it's not that expensive. It's for gravy, sauces, soups, and stews. So you can add it to many dishes other than just gravy. I just mainly use it in my gravies, and I hardly ever do that because usually if I'm making a brown gravy, I'm frying some kind of meat first. So I just use the drippings in the pan and it browns it enough. Mm. Yeah, Brenda needs to take a screenshot of the gravy seasoning. But if she's got the name of it, that's all she needs. But if she took a screenshot of it when she goes to the store to get it, she can, open that screenshot up and see that it's the same bottle. Now, my son would not eat onions if he saw them in a dish. But like I mentioned in some of my earlier videos, cooking videos that I've done, if I was going to cook this dish and my son was going to eat it, I would literally grate up the onion, or I would put it in the blender and just pulverize the onion and throw it right in the saucepan and brown it that way. That way, when it's cooked, it's just all dissolved in the dish, and you can't tell there's onion in it other than just the flavor. And that way, he'd eat it all day long. As long as it didn't crunch in his mouth and he didn't feel that onion, he would eat it all day. But if he once saw a piece of cut up onion in his dish, he would not touch it. Now, I like raw onions sometimes on a burger or something like that. But you know what? Even when I fix a hamburger now, I'll throw a patty in the frying pan. I'll put a couple of slices of onion in there with it and brown the onion with my burger. And then when I take the patty out and put it on the bun, I will put my cooked onions on my burger. And I like them that way. Yeah. I always use the onion and fresh garlic if I have it, but I usually always add the onion powder and the garlic powder or garlic salt, because it does give it a different type of onion flavor and a little bit different type of garlic flavor with the powder that you use. Well, I've got another whole bowl over here up on the stove. Gladys, you can come get you a bowl. But that is so good. Yeah, I got to get my fingers in it. Y'all have some rice pudding. If you never made rice pudding before, and I know Wilkes County Boy hasn't, because he mentioned in the video that I was doing, what is rice pudding? So Wilkes County Boy, you need to go back and look at my video on making it and make you some rice pudding. I'll guarantee you'll love it. That's good when it gets cold and it's set. And that would be so good with a scoop of vanilla ice cream on top. Oh my goodness. That is so good, y'all. I can't explain the taste of this. It's just so good. Gladys, I'm sorry. I don't want you to pass out. Here you go, Wilkes County boy. Take you a bite. It's really good. Oh, okay. Oh, y'all, I'm stuffed. I can't eat all this rice pudding. I'm gonna have to put it in the refrigerator and eat it later. I'm totally stuffed with that big bowl of stroganoff I just ate. Uh, it's so good though. Oh my gosh. And by now my coffee's cold, but that's okay. I drink cold coffee too. Kimber says, "Oh, now I'm starving." Well, it is lunchtime. It's like 12:20 here. But y'all do the math. If you watch my rice pudding video, how much do you think it cost me to make that rice pudding? I mean, a whole bag of rice is real cheap, and I only used like a cup or 3/4 cup uncooked rice, which made about a cup and a half of cooked rice, which I used in my recipe. I used a 3/4 cup of raisins. I used a teaspoon of vanilla. I used, what was it, a 1/3 cup of sugar. Uh, I used, I think, 3 cups total milk because I did cook my rice in milk instead of water. And then I added the rest of the milk after the rice was cooked. So it would be kind of creamy. I didn't want it solid at that point. And then I added a beat up egg. And I think that's pretty much it. I mixed it all up, cooked it a little bit longer till it was creamy, and then I poured it in my dish to cool off. And in this kind of heat, it's so good to have a cold rice pudding to eat. A dessert that's cold. I mean, it's good hot right out of the pot because that's the way we ate it when I was growing up. Whenever Mama made rice pudding, we were standing right there at the stove almost waiting for her to get it out of the pot so we could get in a bowl and start eating it. We ate it hot, and it was good. She didn't fix it that often, but once in a while she'd fix rice pudding. Sometimes she'd fix peanut butter cookies or oatmeal cookies. And then other times she'd fix fried donuts because we didn't have a bakery close to where we lived. And let me turn this up a little bit. Don't want you looking at my shoulders trying to talk to you. But, you know, living out in the country and having a big family. Because, you know, I got 5 brothers. And, of course, 2 of my youngest brothers didn't come along till a few years later. But still, even with 4 kids or 5 kids, that's a lot of mouths to feed when you got a husband and wife to feed too. So, and my dad wasn't making that big a income whenever he first got out of the service because he was career Navy. And he got out before he could draw that career Navy pension because he was only in about 13 years. And you have to be in 20 to full, you know, to draw your full pension from the service. And he wasn't in that long. So he had to work. And work was not that available in the small hometown that I lived in. It was way out in the country. So he picked up carpenter jobs wherever he could get them. And he'd work in Wilmington a lot on construction jobs. But yeah, she'd fry our own donuts. And we'd grab those holes as soon as they come out of the hot grease and ate them. I mean, donuts, nothing like that lasted very long in our house. They were consumed right out of the pot and gone. Yeah, I was the only girl, Wilkes County. I had 5 brothers and I'm the only girl. Okay, Kimbra. I'll take that bite on your next video. What are y'all talking about? Cost $1? Oh, $1.75 to fix it. Yeah, it's not much. I mean, and I already had the ingredients, so I didn't have to go down to the store and buy it, especially to make that. But you know, making that rice pudding and that cherry pie, cheesecake, that gave me desserts for many a day, because even that cheesecake, that piece that's left in there, that's 2 servings for me. I mean, cheesecake is so rich, I just eat a little piece. But you know, one of them little slices, to cut that piece in half, is what you'd pay about $4 or $5 for if you bought it in the store. Just for that little bitty wedge of cheesecake. It's expensive. And you can fix it yourself for almost nothing. I mean, it's pretty cheap. And like I said, I the Walmart brand of the cheese, the cream cheese and everything I can buy that's a Walmart brand, because it's just as good and it's a lot less expensive. Yeah, my brothers made me rough because their favorite pastime was to pick on me. And sometimes I'd get so aggravated at them, oh, I could just wring their neck if I could get hold of them. But you know what? On the other hand, they wouldn't let anybody else pick on me. If any other kids come around and they made a wisecrack toward me or made any advancement toward me that they didn't think was right, they got on them. They wouldn't let them bother their sister. And I used to joke about it because I said, yeah, they had priority on aggravating me. Yeah, that chocolate or ice cream is great on rice pudding. I usually put Cool Whip on my cheesecake or whipped topping. I love whipped topping on my cheesecake. What I did for a living, I did a lot of different things over the years. I'm retired now. I mean, I've had to basically retire because of my back and neck injuries. Because when I try to work an 8-hour shift, it almost puts me in the bed. I mean, it aggravates my spine so bad. Because I always get on jobs where they want you to shove something around or lift something heavy or, you know, that type of thing. I think the best job I had was working at Lowe's as a cashier. But before that, I was a substitute teacher. And I loved it because I was, you know, it was a full-time job for me. If I could have divided myself up into 10 people, I'd still sub every day. Because I had all these schools calling me. And I'd have to turn a lot of them down because I already had a subbing job for that next day. And before that, I worked in Fort Worth. I was a sales rep for an advertising company. We sold advertising to businesses. I call businesses all over the United States every day, selling them ad space on our products to advertise their company. And I made my living at that. I made a salary plus commission every week. And that lasted for about almost 10 years. I got tired of driving to Fort Worth, though, because it was an hour there and an hour back home every day. And my kids were living at home. And I felt like I was gone most of the time, you know, especially in the winter months when the days are short. I left home at dark. I came home and it was almost dark already. I got home just in time to fix dinner for my kids and go to bed, basically. And it got old real fast. And today I couldn't afford to drive that distance of the price of gasoline. It would take my paycheck just to pay for gas and upkeep on my car. Wilkes County boy said that's the way he was toward his sister. Yeah, you'd aggravate her to death, but I bet you didn't let anybody else aggravate her. I bet you took up for her when it come to other people. That's the way my brothers were. Yeah, I'm a hard worker. I've always been a hard worker. I always believed if you did a job, do it well. I mean, if a job's worth doing, do it well. Do it to the best of your ability. And then you don't have any worries with your conscience. You know you did the best job you could. Where some people get on the job and they just fool around and they let other people do their job and expect to get paid for it. And a lot of times they don't keep their jobs either. Kimber says, I wish I would have had a brother, one sister 5 years younger than me, a pain in my... Oh, well, I've never had a sister, so I don't know if she would have been a pain in my caboose or not, but sometimes I think it might have been nice to have a sister. And my mom and dad tried 2 more times after me to have another girl with 2 more boys to make 5 boys. So they gave up after that. But I was a daddy's girl since I was the only girl. I remember I'd do something, Mom would get on me, and if Daddy was home, and I'd just run in wherever he was at, jump up in his lap, and he wouldn't let Mama get on me. She'd be ready to spank me, and he wouldn't let her. She got in your stuff. Well, you know what? Back when I was growing up, with so many kids in the family, and such a small income, because we were not rich people. We had an 11-room house that my daddy built. And that's how he could afford to have it, is to build it himself or have some of his friends help him. Because when you build it yourself, you cut the cost down. And a lot of times you can pay for it as you build it. So you don't have a mortgage later. And, but there was not a lot of, money. So I didn't have a lot of stuff for a sister to get into. But yeah, I could see what little bit of stuff I might have had. It might have been aggravating if I had a little sister getting into it all the time. But with me, I probably would have had to share whatever stuff I had with my sister, because there wouldn't have been enough to buy for both of us, I remember the first year I got one of those walking dolls. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a doll that stood about 2 foot tall, and you could hold her hand, and if you tilted her just right, she'd take a step, and she'd keep taking steps, and you could walk next to her. They called it a walking doll. I remember the first year I got one of those. Oh my God, I thought I died and went to heaven. I got me a doll. Because usually we didn't get a whole lot at Christmas time. We just, there was no money. And then later I remember when my brothers and I, which there was just 4 of us then, my 2 little brothers were not born yet, but my 3 older brothers and myself, we all got a bicycle for Christmas. And I thought to myself, when we walked into that living room and saw those bicycles around that tree, we definitely had died and went to heaven. Because, there's no way we could ever imagine our parents would have ever gotten us bicycles, especially 4 of them at one time. So that was really amazing that year. Her name was Tracy. But money was so tight with us, we didn't even have money to buy Christmas decorations. I mean, I remember my mom and dad had gotten 1 string of lights for the tree, and they were those big bulbs, the ones that really get hot. They hadn't come out with these little tiny mini bulbs then. But we had just enough of a string to go on a little tree, about a 5-foot tree, and we would make popcorn streamers. Pop the popcorn and then take a needle and thread and string it, make a long string of popcorn and wrap the tree. And we'd make little paper circles and hook them together like a chain of different color paper. What do they call it? Crepe paper? Or, I don't know. But we cut it in strips and make rings about that big around and hook them together, glue them together. And we make a ring, a string of that and wrap around the tree. And we'd get a little bit of the tinsel, the long silver streams that you throw on the tree. We had that. And that's about all we had to put on our tree. And it was all made, it's all stuff we made ourselves except for the lights. And the tree actually come from the woods. We'd go out with my dad, or my dad would go out and cut a tree down and bring it home. We didn't buy one. I don't think anybody around close to where we lived even sold Christmas trees. So everybody went out and cut their own tree. So the tree was free. You just had to go get it. Yeah, those bicycles were huge, and you could imagine getting 4 of them at one time. Oh my God, we never imagined that Mom and Dad could ever afford to get all of us bicycles, 1 each. 4 of us. Construction paper, that's what I was trying to think of. But yeah, we made all our Christmas decorations. There was even one time there, I remember, you know how you can take a raw egg and make a hole in the top of it? And you can get that egg out of it without breaking the eggshell? We'd get those and color them and put a little hanger in them and glue it in and hang those on the tree for bulbs. I mean, that was our Christmas decorations. We just didn't have the money to buy any. You blow it out. We never did that. Mom and Dad would take care of that part of it, because I know we'd break them. But we'd color them with food coloring and hang them on the tree. Yeah, homemade is fun and the best. I mean, we had a lot of fun making popcorn streamers because we ate a lot of popcorn. We ate a lot of it, while we were. We ate a lot of the popcorn while we were stringing it, so. I guess I'm going to have to advertise my live streams more in advance so I get a lot more people in my streams, because I've got like 26 now, which isn't bad considering I only gave like 30-minute warning that I was going to go live. But yeah, I thought the world of my bicycle too. I remember it was a blue girl's bike and it was a 24-incher bike, and my brother's got the bigger ones too. I mean, they weren't little kitty bicycles, full-grown adult-sized bicycles. Popcorn and cranberries, yeah, it all sounds good. But those were good times because we got to do it all together. And people don't do a lot of that stuff anymore. They just buy boxes of decorations at the store, throw them on the tree, and most of the time the kids are not even helping decorate the tree anymore because they want the tree to be just right, You're so welcome, April Flowers. I enjoy doing my videos. But y'all be on the lookout, because from now on, at any given time in the morning, whenever I can get situated, I may go live. And if I have time to give a previous notice, if not, then I'm going to go live right then. And I hope some of you can make it. And maybe as I keep doing it, I'll get more and more people in my live streams. And I'm going to try to do some at night too. Maybe like a chat, just a regular chat type video at night, live stream or something like that. Who knows? I may even practice up a little bit and start singing. Yeah, I noticed I had more while I was cooking. But I guess we've been on here for quite a while, so I'm losing some people. Some people like to stay in and just chat. Other people want to see the cooking video, see how it's done. get the ingredients and then go on and take care of stuff they have to do during the day. And I don't blame them for that. Yeah, I started out YouTube years and years ago, and I didn't sing live, but I did upload a lot of my singing videos that I did, and they were getting pretty popular. Wasn't making anything off of them, because like I said, I was just posting videos, and I had a lot of viewers, but somebody sabotaged my channel, and I don't even have access to my channel anymore. So years later, I decided to come up with a new channel just for gardening and cooking, and I said later on I may add singing to it. I do have another channel that's blank. It doesn't have anything on it, and I could use that as a singing channel, or to maybe post a singing concert type thing once a week or something. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. Yeah, I had a lot more viewers while I was cooking, but I don't blame them. They came in to see how the dish was prepared or see what I was doing. And if they wanted to stay and get the recipe and how I prepared it, they stayed and watched that, and then they left. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Wilkes County boy, you're terrible. Maybe you can do a twerking dance to bring in viewers. I don't know if that would get them or not, Wilkes County boy. That might just drive them away. You like sewing videos, April? Well, I do those once in a while. If I have something I need to sew or repair, I'll get on here and do a sewing video with it. Like I had to repair a pair of PJs, the pants, the elastic stretched out in the waist. And most of the time people will get rid of those, when that happens. Not me. I'll pull that old elastic out and I'll replace the elastic, re-sew the waist, and they're good to go. And I did a video on doing that. Okay, well, I might decide to go live about noon from now on then. Maybe I'll wait till noon. Since I'm going live, I don't have to worry about uploading the video. I can go live about noon, maybe do one about 3 or 4 o'clock if I want to. Or I know Danny and Steven have their concert on Friday nights now. Slim Twiggy has her Saturday night live starting this Saturday at 5 o'clock, I think, her time, which I think is 4 o'clock my time. But when they get on, they're going to stay on for 2 or 3 hours, I'm sure. So that's going to take up Saturday night. So I don't know. I guess I sit back and wait too long and I let everybody get all the slots. Because I don't want to do it at the same time some of my viewers do theirs, because I feel like I'm competing with them on their channel, and I don't want to do that if I can help it. But you can't help it with Steven. I mean, he's usually live off and on all day long. If he's not live, Miss Helen is, or Danny is, or Tammy is. So they take up pretty much the whole day, every day. So I try to get in a slot where he maybe in between his channels, his lives, but it's hard to do because, like I said, he's live basically all the time. I mean, I'm in no way trying to compete with them, but it's just hard when they're live just about every day. I mean, Steven is live every day. He does 2 or 3 or more live videos every day. And usually his videos are at least 2 hours or more. Miss Helen goes on, Tuesday and Friday. She starts at 10, but she's on for 2 or 3 hours. And then Tammy's on now. She was on at 3 for hours, and now she's on about 5 or 6 every day for hours. Danny's on at 10 p.m. his time, Eastern time, and he's on for hours. So it's hard to go on live at a time when they're not there. So, I'm not trying to do them out of viewers or nothing like that. It's just the way it is. Do a rain dance before you end the video. Yeah, I'm going to have competition any way that I look at it. Because there's somebody live right now everywhere all over the world. But, I just don't want to compete with people that I subscribe to or they subscribe to my channel, because I want to help them out as well. And I'll watch as many as Stephen lives as I can. If I don't watch the live, I'll go back and watch the video and leave a comment. But, yeah, when you're live all day long, you can't help it go live the same time, so... I don't know how to do a rain dance, to tell you the truth, so. But I do have to sign off pretty soon. And I don't know what kind of dance is a rain dance. But we can do a rain dance. I want rain up there, y'all. I want rain. I want rain. I'm going to dance around like an Indian. I want rain. I want rain. Just having fun, y'all. Just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Well, my belly's so fat I can't wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. My wiggle don't wiggle. It is a lot of fun, but I don't think I'm going to get any rain out of it. But anyway, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming into my live stream at the last minute. Love every one of you. Y'all have a blessed day. And like I said, tell everybody you know to like, share, and subscribe to my videos. And I'll see you on my next one. Bye now.